chemicals and minerals that will produce the colors on the finished piece of work. Some of the colors produce truths, like the oranges. Some of the colors do not. The copper blue that's on the table will have a green tint to it when it's done. Hence copper oxidization green. At all times, Molly's hands will be in constant motion with the piece because the glass right now has the consistency of warm honey on the end of the pipe. If you'd like to understand how difficult a job Molly has that she's doing, go home and encourage you to get a soda straw, dip it into your jar of honey, and hold it horizontally above the countertop, rotating it back and forth in your fingers without letting a drop fall and hit the counter. Do that for 30 minutes. Then at 2,000 degrees. You understand what Molly's up against. Molly constantly returns to the furnace for heat because she likes to keep the operating temperature between 1850 and 1900 degrees on the glass. If it gets cooler than that, she won't be able to work with it. Today's window offers us a little bit of a challenge because it's removing a little bit of the heat quicker, so she'll have to return to the furnace for heats more often. Molly has finished applying her color and is now allowing the glass to cool down a little bit. And she's going to go in for a glass and do a second gather. You notice some of you can see the spiral striping that she's put in there? What she did was she held the pipe in place and twirled it on the table, causing the glass to spin on the pipe, which created that spiral pattern that you see. Now going to take an encasement layer of glass. This encasement layer will add optical brightness to the colors that she's put underneath it. At the shop, we like to call this the color of hot. After a quick marber here on the table, Molly's going to press into a large optical mold called the Stampo. And when I say Stampo the next time, everybody in the audience has to scream that word at the top of their lungs. So into the optical mold called the Stampo. Stampo! Very good, very good. She presses the glass into the optical mold, and this produces grooves and ridges on the outside of the piece. And that will be seen as the ridges and vines, the ridges that you see on the outside of the pumpkin. The mold is made of aluminum and has grooves and ridges on it in various patterns. We have 3 or 4 molds here on the grounds that we'll use for various things. We'll get to say Stampo one more time. There you go, excellent. Now Molly is going to seat herself at the gaffer's bench. Molly is actually the gaffer for this piece. Gaffer means wise one or head of family. It's a German word. And the gaffer is the person in charge of making the piece on the floor. Molly is in charge of this piece and will be telling everybody what to do, generally in her nature. Right now she's using a tool called jacks. Jacks are the oldest tool in glass blowing and are a hybrid of tool, like tweezers on the end, short and pointy, broad and flat in the middle like shears, and then you see her using it as a mini marber table or a shaping tool as she sits there at the bench, beginning to make it form the pumpkin. What she's working on right now is called the jack line. By putting a jack line in, that will be the point of separation when she goes to take and remove the pumpkin from the punty pipe. So you here on the side can see that spiral pattern that she put inside the pumpkin there. She's now going to hand the piece off to her assistant Josh. Josh is going to let the piece cool down a little bit before he breaks it off at the break-off table. Molly, meanwhile, is going to grab another punty pipe and going to begin working on the stem. Go back into the furnace and gather more glass upon the end of the pipe.
It's still soft.
She's going to allow this to cool a little bit so that she can gather a little bit more glass over it so she has enough to make a proper stem. Molly's hands are, the pipe is relatively cool. However, if she were to slide her hands up the pipe anywhere from 6 to 10 inches, she would start to encounter hundreds of degrees of heat in the steel. One of the things you have to watch out as a glass blower is where your hands are all the time. As attested to by this scar on my wrist. Josh is using a pair of diamond shears to crimp along the jack line, and with a tap upon the pipe, he's going to remove the pipe. Molly gathers some color for the stem. Josh is going to pick up a blowtorch and he's going to heat the top of the pumpkin so that it remains at a constant temperature and somewhat in par with the temperature of the stem. That way when the two pieces are joined together, they're of equal temperature and will anneal and stick to each other. Hey, Molly's coming out of the furnace. She's going to press into an optical mold called a Stampo. Alright. She uses one of our cheapest tools, a little bit of gravity there, to elongate the piece. She'll come over here for a final heat before she will go over and present the stem on top of the pumpkin. Here she's going to hold the pipe upright over the piece. She'll seat it on top of the pumpkin. Then she'll stretch forth the rod, causing the glass to stretch much like taffy on a taffy pole. She'll then take a copper rod. She'll start to wrap the stem around the rod, creating that curlicue pattern that you see on top of all the pumpkins. She'll then push down the curlicues on top of the pumpkin, seating them, and then trim away the end of the stem with the diamond shears. She'll then apply heat to the piece with the torch, making sure that the stem is touching down at several points and melted to the pumpkin, and also so that the rounded end where the cut was just made is dulled over and not sharp, so no one cuts themselves upon it if they were to ever handle the piece. And Molly would now like to present to you what was moments ago nothing more than clear molten glass transformed into a beautiful, one-of-a-kind piece of artwork made una volta. Huzzah! The pumpkin is now being placed into our furnace called the Leer. The Leer is a furnace that is kept at 925 degrees throughout the day and will be turned off this evening, allowing the glass to cool between 35 and 55 degrees an hour. This causes the glass to anneal or harden for everyday use. And tomorrow morning, bright and early, just like giddy children on Christmas morning, we rush to the shop, throw open the Leer, and see all of the beautiful works of art created by your glass artist, Molly, with the help of her assistant, Josh. My name is Bob. I've been your storyteller for this piece. We thank you all for attending the Morton Arboretum's first annual Glass Pumpkin Patch. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you again real soon. Thank you all.